All right, let's get into a little SPFL weekend review, even though it was the Premier Sports Cup this weekend, obviously, which changes things a lot. Having cup games and especially the kind of earlier rounds of the cup games, people rotate. You're looking to get players in that aren't playing, using some academy players, some guys that just haven't got minutes yet, and it's good for like the specific fans of the teams for those games, right? Because you get to see guys that you're excited that you've signed, or guys that come from the youth academy, and they get to get a bit of game time, and yeah, it's one of those for the earlier rounds of the cup. So probably not going to be an extensive review. Didn't get a chance to catch any of these games on TV. Celtic played on Friday night, and I was watching Liverpool play that night. Rangers are on Saturday night. Was out for dinner watching Wolves Man City, and then Sunday obviously was just kind of Super Sunday and watching the Chelsea game and the Arsenal Man United game. So in terms of getting on telly, didn't get to watch it, but I've watched all the highlights on Premier Sports. I think we start with Hearts because it's the most disappointing result of the whole kind of weekend in the cup. That would have been something that would have been a big target for them. That would have been a huge target for them this season is how can we do in the cups? And the League Cup's the first one that comes around. It's probably the one where, Rangers and Celtic, yeah, typically are going to get to the final, but can you try and avoid them? You can get into the quarterfinals if you win this game, obviously, and you're in the mix early door. So it's a poor result for them. First of all, I was watching all the highlights on YouTube of the Premier Sports, and geez, the editing and stuff is jumpy as anything. So Premier Sports, if you need someone to edit some highlights of the games, give me a shout. I would absolutely love to do that. It was very jumpy and edity, and just no offense to the guy that does it, but just I'm so used to the other quality of your Sky Sports and stuff like that on YouTube, and when you watch them, it was just a bit bizarre. I was hurting my head a little bit watching them. So yeah, let's just go through the game. Obviously, Hearts lose to St. Mirren on penalties. It's a disappointing one. St. Mirren's goal. It's a stunning overhead kick. I mean, it is quite a basic free kick. McInnes does say that. He said they were wet behind the ears, during the set play. That's what he said in his press conference. He says they're shouting at the players for it. It was obvious it was going to happen, and none of them could read it. Fair play, but I mean, the overhead kick, the boy absolutely picks that one from nowhere, and it's a great finish there from St. Mirren, and they do go behind. What's that? About 34 minutes in. McKinnon said he felt like just around that point, Hearts are starting to get a bit of a grip on the game, and they're starting to get the rhythm in their flow. And there's nothing worse as a manager when you're looking on the pitch and you're feeling like you're coming into it, and then you concede the goal, and you're like, for fuck's sake, like really. So yeah, obviously a little bit disappointing there to concede again. I mean, Hearts again score from a set piece. It's all the way to the back post. It's nodded in. And yeah, they're kind of like the Arsenal of the Scottish League at the moment this season. It looks like it's going to be a big weapon for them, and those things are important. I would say, obviously, being a fan of Liverpool and watching the Premier League and seeing Arsenal, kind of particularly last season, I wouldn't get too focused on that and too hung up on that. Use it to your advantage. It's a weapon that you have in games. Absolutely, working it on the training pitch, but don't hang your hat on it. For me personally, I've watched Heart so far a couple of times this season. They've got good football. They're using the tempo of Tynecastle. They're using the intensity, the atmosphere there, things like that. Like, keep that going and have those set pieces is just to add to it, and for teams to think, God, even if they have the ball on the deck here, we're still in a bit of trouble as well as they are, kind of putting those set pieces in. So it's another good set piece from Hearts. I've said this in the last couple of videos. Zander Clark for me is a little bit of a worry. I've liked him when I've seen him at Tynecastle over the course of the last few years, but the first game of the season against Aberdeen, he's got no pressure on him sometimes, and the ball's being played back to him, and he's just kicking it. He's really, really poor the following week against Dundee United for a couple of the goals. And I mean, for the first St. Mirren penalty, he's got to save that. I put a clip up today about if you've got a goalkeeper that is going to drop one in the back of the net, it's really, really difficult for you as a squad, because as well as you're playing, you've got that feeling in the back of your head mentally that this other team just need half a chance and our keeper's going to do something. And it's the classic cliche, but goals change games, and he's got to save that penalty. It's not a good start to the season for him. I know they've got Craig Gordon in there as backup, but he needs to start performing, or else McInnes is going to have a decision to make, and he needs to make that quickly, because, as I just said, you can't be doing all these things really well on the pitch and being a threat from set pieces and playing well for the other team to go up the other end, and your keeper to make a mistake and do something that he really shouldn't be doing, and making a save that he really should be making. So hopefully he can kind of bounce back from that. Just lastly, McInnes does say kind of on that, he felt like one or two of the guys could have given a bit more in the game, in particular extra time. He wasn't happy with it. He does say, does he maybe chuck in too many, guys that haven't played games and new guys into the team, and did it disrupt the rhythm a little bit? And he'll go away and have a think about it this week, if, kind of holding his hands up to say maybe that was my fault. So we'll see. But it's disappointing for Hearts. It really is. They should have had their sights set on getting into the quarters and making a little bit of a run to see if they can get to a final there and trying to get a bit of silverware with this buzz and this Tony Bloom thing. So they need to just get themselves back going again, get themselves back up at the weekend, and look to try and get a win and keep the momentum going and not lose that. So just elsewhere, Aberdeen obviously go through, Partick Thistle go through as well, Motherwell go through, Kilmarnock go through, and Hibs all go through. So, all of those teams, but, Hibs in particular, I think will be looking there. They've got their Europe game again on Thursday night, which will be interesting, as well as do Dundee United, who obviously went out to Kilmarnock. So, Hibs and Aberdeen will be looking to try and get in there. Motherwell, sneakily all right, obviously watching Open Goal and listening to Andy Halliday and those guys talk a lot about those games. It seems like the manager's decent and Halliday seems to like it. He's got a good role there. So, watch out for them. But I think, Hibs and Aberdeen, in particular Hibs, should be looking to try and make a little bit of a run at the Cup. Let's just quickly go over Celtic and Rangers. Obviously, I watched the highlights. I don't think there's too much to say on Celtic, to be honest. They obviously go and they beat Falkirk 4-1. It's good to see Kieran Tierney playing football again. If he can stay fit, I do like Tierney. I've always said I think Robertson should be miles ahead of Kieran Tierney as a player. And Tierney can't stay fit, but it's good to see him playing football. So hopefully he keeps that going. The first goal's an absolutely stunning ball from McGregor, clipped him behind, great header back across and a finish. You can see the level quality between Celtic and Falkirk. Obviously, Falkirk trying to give it their all. I mean, their goal is some strike, right? Puts it in the top left corner, absolutely no problem. So yeah, I mean, it was a great strike from him, great strike from Adams. I think Falkirk, a lot of long range efforts. It's a poor level for the second goal. They just give it away, and they kind of know Celtic are in right away, and Forrest isn't going to miss that. It was just too easy. I thought Engels, great free kick off the bar. Thought his deliveries looked dangerous. So, I know that again there was talk listening to like Slaney and Sy and Open Goal just kind of saying that, Slaney was a fan of him last season. They kind of taking the piss out of him and all that type of stuff. But deadly from set pieces. It'll be interesting to see if he kind of stays in the team. So all in all, comfortable for Celtic. I mean, we're probably looking at a Celtic and a Rangers final there, let's be honest. We kind of know that, but hopefully one of the other teams can kind of step up and get in there. I didn't even really check out Brendan Rodgers' press conference for that because I didn't really think there was any need. It's a big week for both the Old Firm teams. They've got Europe, Rangers tonight, Celtic tomorrow night, and then they have each other coming up, not this weekend, but the following weekend in the Old Firm game. So it's a huge week for them. Just dive a little bit more in on Rangers because there's just more to talk about at Rangers. They beat Alloa 4-2. I mean, the first goal, absolute screamer. What a finish it is. Mickey Moore just kind of on the right hand side, lays it off to him. He looks a little bit tidy. He's got his socks like Jack Grealish. So, as I said at the beginning, it's an interesting one for Rangers fans to be able to see him play, see how he does, see if he can kind of push himself kind of into the game and into the team. It's a shambles at the back for the equaliser on Rangers' part from Alloa, and he did get asked a lot about that in the press conference. Like, are you worried there? And I would be a little bit worried. And they concede the other goal from the set piece again. And Russell Martin just seems like a type of coach. And I'm sure if you could sit down with him, he would say, listen, we do a lot of off the ball stuff, but he seems like he just works a lot about like, this is how we play. These are our patterns of play. We just continue to do them in training. It doesn't look like they're working on set pieces and they're vulnerable there. And they'll need to shore that up. You have to be strong in all areas. Like, you can't just go and work on things like on the ball, particularly at that level, right? Like, you have to have a little bit of everything about you. And one thing's always going to be stronger than the other. You're going to have some form of weakness in there. And for me right now, not so much defensively at the back. I'm not going to criticize them that much because it's early, but set pieces, it's a worry. They really, really do need to. They need to work on that. I thought it was a bit harsh for the handball. For the third goal, the penalty that they get. I mean, I know his arm is there. It does hit it. I'd be claiming for it if I was a Rangers player. But it's harsh. Like, the boy's trying to get himself back in to defend. Like, what else is he meant to do? It basically means he can't get in the way to block a shot. And it's just one of those where you're thinking, Christ. But I'm claiming for it. I am claiming for it if I'm on the Rangers side of things. So, did think that was a bit harsh. I watched, his press conference, Russell Martin's press conference after the game. And I've also watched his press conference with regards to the game tonight. So, just quickly go through his press conference after the Alloa game. They make 10 changes, as I said. He said it's hard to judge. It means the rhythm's not going to be there. Things aren't going to be as sharp and everything like that. Absolutely fair. Fans can't be getting too annoyed at that, thinking if there was some dodgy moments in there, okay, I can see why it's frustrating. But with all the changes, it's going to happen. It's going to happen to every team, right? When you make those changes, as I said earlier about McInnes saying the same thing, so it's a chance to see players that haven't played and academy players and all that. He did get asked about a number 9 problem. The reporter said that it seems like your 9, whoever comes on off the bench, seems to do a lot better than the guy that starts. And he did say that, they need to work as a group, and sometimes it might be the job of the guy that starts to kind of tire the team out, and then you get some fresh legs on, and that guy's going to have more space and more time. I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong, that's pretty obvious, and it's not a bad tactic. But if you're Rangers and you're in the place you're in right now, I don't think they want to be kind of 0-0 at Ibrox or tight in a game at Ibrox come 60 minutes and not taking chances and kind of banking and hoping that the centre forward that comes on is going to have more time and space and put one away. Like, it's not going to go well if that's the case. Like, the 9 that start needs to be getting goals. Rangers will be wanting, every team be wanting to get 1-2-0 up, come 60 minutes, 70 minutes and feeling a bit comfortable and being able to rest players. I mean, that's the ideal scenario for everybody. But if your 9s that are starting aren't kind of hitting the ground and aren't doing too well, yeah, you're in a bit of trouble. You don't want to be heading into Ibrox 0-0 late on there too often. Just to finish off, because it's a huge game tonight for them. It really, really is. I mean, there's a prize pot of about 40 million that they're saying, if they can get through, and that's what Rangers need to do. They need to try and get there. They need to try and get there consistently, and then with the kind of new draw, you never know how you're going to do. Ibrox is a hell of a place to go. He does say that, Russell Martin, that he needs his players to play with a bit more joy at Ibrox, and it does seem like, you've got the same. If you look at like the top clubs, like Manchester United, it seemed like that in the last few years that those players have struggled to play at home. I know Liverpool had that at Anfield for a long time. And he's right, you need to change that into a place where you want to go and play and not feel the pressure. And of course, there's pressure on you in every single game, and particularly at home, and you're going to have moments, and you need to deal with that as a professional, especially if you're at a club like Rangers. But he's right on trying to get the joy out of them playing there. He even said that, the staff haven't really enjoyed being part of the club. It's a bit negative, it's a bit dull, and he needs to get that buzz and that feeling back. And he absolutely does, but he's not going to get it by just talking. He needs to go out there and get results, and then performances as well, hopefully, to follow. Because it's all fine and well, apologies, saying all these things, and he's absolutely right. But then how does your team look on the pitch? Does it correlate with that? I remember, Brendan Rodgers at Liverpool a lot of times, apart from the 13-14 season, you listen to his interviews and his press conferences, and you kind of you're looking around the room at each other thinking like, what the fuck is he on about? Because what he's saying, his team are doing nothing of. And, the kind of salesman, the pitch guy, like all those buzzwords and all of that stuff. So he just doesn't want to fall into that category where Rangers fans start looking around saying like, yeah, you kind of are saying the things that are obvious, but like the team's not doing it on the pitch, so how are you getting it through to the team? So he does just need to be a little bit careful with that. And he talked a lot about the balance between kind of enjoying it, and the reporter did say, but like, it's Rangers, you need to win. And he said, of course, there needs to be a balance between enjoying it and winning it. If I'm him, winning brings enjoyment. I'd be going just to keep winning with Rangers, and that gets the fans behind you. That's get players behind your results. So then when you start asking them to do things, they're going to listen to you. I mean, I say it's not rocket science. I'm sat here in a bedroom at my mum's house in Gillen about it, and he's there on the pitch, but it's not rocket science. Can you kind of get in there and get some wins going there? And most importantly, he said they never want to go into a game as underdogs, the Rangers Football Club. And he says it's really, really important for them to seize the opportunity, and they have a big opportunity, and he wants to look at it in a positive light. And again, as long as his team look like that tonight, and next week when they go into the game, it's going to be difficult against Club Brugge, then fair play to them. But it's a huge one. I'll get my thoughts out there on it, and we'll obviously see what Celtic do on Wednesday night as well. So, big week for the Old Firm. It would be great best of luck to both of them. It would be great to see them in the Champions League. Parkhead, Celtic Park, and Ibrox are two great stadiums. And they just need to get there, and they need to try and get there consistently. And with the Swedish kind of draw things how it is in the Champions League, we've seen that Celtic kind of get into the playoff area, and obviously they get Bayern Munich, and they take them quite close, because I really don't think Bayern are a big superpower at the moment in Europe again. So you never know how that's going to go for you. So best of luck to them both. Hopefully they get in These will be up for free every week on YouTube, probably on a Tuesday, sometimes maybe on a Monday, just depends on timing and recording and how the schedule's going with Premier League games and Champions League games and everything like that. But it'll be out on a weekly basis and, a little bit more in depth, obviously, as the season goes and we get a bit more time to see the players and the teams and how things are unfolding. And that's just how it goes in football, isn't it? The first few weeks are just a bit like, you're trying to be sensationalist and everything like that. So if you want some kind of weekend breakdowns of Premier League games, they're available on the subscription service. Again, trying to get them out on a Monday. My one is up from the weekend games as of yesterday. That went up on the subscription service. There's a fantasy league there. I know we've kind of passed the first week, but if you see this and you want to try and jump in, if you just want to feel like you miss a week or so, there's £100 cash prize there for the winner that I will personally give myself with a view to grow if the subscriptions grow over the season. So if you're interested in some more videos and more content as the season goes, I'll put more ideas up on that. Link will be in the description, links in the bio to be able to sign up for that. And if not, just subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok, all those types of things. Looking forward to the season, just kind of getting full momentum. We've got another couple of weeks, and then those shitty little international breaks that come up that kind of stop it and kind of get the momentum stopped from there. But it's all good. Weather's getting a bit better here in Scotland for wherever you are. It was pissing rain this morning. It was dull. It felt like winter is on its way already here, but let's hope not. So as always, enjoy the games. I'll be up with some videos and my thoughts on the games either tomorrow after it, or I'll let both games play out and we'll get one up on Thursday. We'll see. And also good luck to Hibs and Dundee United on Thursday in their respective games in Europe too. So as always, until the next one, have a good one. Peace.